Through the rain-speckled glass of her window, Isabella watched him, a barefoot boy dancing under a flickering street lamp. She couldn't walk. He had no home. But the night they met would change all three of their lives forever. Richard. Stanton wasn't just rich, he was untouchable. The man owned luxury hotels across the country, had a private jet, and a reputation for turning everything he touched into gold. But behind the polished image was a widower who had learned to bury his grief in work. 3 years earlier, his wife, Claire, had passed away suddenly. Their only daughter, Isabella, had been just 9, bright, full of energy and obsessed with ballet. She'd spend hours twirling in the sunlit living room while her mother played the piano. But last year, an accident had taken that away. One moment, she was laughing on her bike. The next, Richard was in a hospital hallway, staring at a doctor who said the words no parent is ready to hear. Your daughter will never walk again. Since then, Isabella's room had become her world. Her wheelchair sat by the window, her ballet shoes untouched in a corner. The mansion was filled with marble floors, but none of them echoed with her laughter anymore. Richard tried everything: therapists, trips, expensive gifts, but nothing lit her up. Until that night. It was late, the kind of night when the rain felt endless. Isabella sat alone, tracing circles on the foggy window glass. Then movement caught her eye. Under the pale glow of the street lamp, a boy, maybe 12 or 13, was spinning, not with polished technique, but with raw, wild passion. His clothes were soaked, clinging to his thin frame. His bare feet splashed in puddles, but his face looked like someone who was free. Isabella leaned forward, her breath fogging the glass. For the first time in months, she smiled. Richard walked in mid-phone call, discussing $1 million deal, but his voice trailed off when he noticed Isabella watching something outside. Following her gaze, he saw the boy. His first thought, a vagrant, dangerous. He stepped toward the intercom to call security, but Isabella's soft voice stopped him. "Please, Dad, don't." Her tone wasn't just asking, it was pleading. The next evening, Richard returned home later than usual. Isabella was at her window again, and there he was, the boy dancing under the street lamp. This time, Richard's curiosity outweighed his suspicion. He walked outside, rain dripping from the awning, and called out sharply, "Hey, what are you doing here?" The boy froze mid-step. His eyes darted toward the alley. But before he could run, Isabella's voice rang out from her balcony. "Dad." "That's my friend." Richard frowned. "Friend?" Isabella's cheeks flushed. "He's teaching me how to dance again." Reluctantly, Richard invited the boy inside. The boy hesitated at the doorway, his wet clothes dripping onto the polished marble floor. When asked his name, he said quietly, "Eli." Over a warm meal, Eli told his story. His mother had been a dancer. She used to twirl with him in the kitchen, laughing until they were both out of breath. But when she passed away 2 years ago, he had no family to turn to. He ended up on the streets. Dancing was the only thing he had left of her. "When I dance, it's like she's here again," Eli said, his voice trembling. Isabella's eyes glistened. "Can you teach me, even if I can't stand?" Eli looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "You don't need legs to dance, just a heart." From that night on, Eli returned every evening. He would choreograph moves that incorporated Isabella's wheelchair spins, twirls, and graceful arm movements that told a story. At first, Richard stayed in the shadows, watching, but soon he began stepping closer, drawn in by Isabella's laughter, something he thought he might never hear again. Eli never asked for money, but Richard noticed his thin clothes, the way he ate like he hadn't in days. Quietly, he had the guest house prepared for him. Over the weeks, the house transformed. The once quiet halls echoed with music again. Isabella's room filled with flowers, ribbons, and the sound of her wheelchair spinning across the floor. Richard found himself feeling lighter. One evening, he asked Eli, "What's your dream?" Eli hesitated, then said, "To dance on a real stage, where my mum can see me from heaven." Months later, Richard decided to host a charity gala. He told no one of his plan, not even Isabella. When the night came, the grand ballroom was filled with chandeliers, silk gowns, and the city's most powerful people. The crowd murmured when the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. There sat Isabella in her wheelchair, dressed in a flowing white gown. Beside her, Eli in a crisp black suit. The music began, and they danced. Every spin, every lift of her arms was poetry. The audience was silent, then erupting into thunderous applause. When the performance ended, Richard stepped forward, his voice thick with emotion. "This young man came to us with nothing, but he gave us back everything that mattered. Tonight, I am proud to announce, Seeley will be my son." Gasps echoed through the room. Eli's eyes filled with tears. Isabella clapped, beaming. Sometimes, the richest treasure is not in what we keep, but in who we keep close. And sometimes, all it takes is one dance to change the rhythm of a life forever.